Amazing. You know, there's something when I watch you all, I see not only your beautiful innocence, but your how you love to give of your talent. It just is very inspiring to me. So thank you for just being so fabulous. Well, about 9 years ago, I was given an old out of print book called The Results Book by Wally Minto. And my understanding is that back in the day, he came here to do some workshops as well, not only here at Unity of Santa Barbara, but also at Unity of Ventura. And so when I don't know, do some of you remember him? Earl Minto? Verl. Yes. So he came. Oh, I have Wally Minto. Or you know what? Arlo Wally Minto. No? Anyway, the book is by Wally, and I was told that he was here. Oh, I was told that he was here, but it may not have been. However, when I was told that he had been here, I thought, you know what? I wanna check out who this guy was. And so I was doing my research. This was 9 years ago. I was doing my research, and I came upon an article by Stephen Bunnell. And it was about one of Wally Minto, that's what I got, it was Wally Minto's teachings, called The Mental Blessing, How to Get Anything You Want in 21 Days. So before I go on, Stephen Bunnell's article, I just want to let you know a little bit about who he was. Well, Stephen was a man that was a real skeptic. Anything that had to do with unity principles, he just didn't believe in them. But after reading this book, he said, and doing this experiment, it changed seeing these miraculous results in his life. It changed him forever. So how do you get anything you want in 21 days? Well, in order to get what you want, you must follow a certain assignment that Wally Minto highly suggests. The assignment that went along with Wally Minto's exercise was to pick something you want, such as maybe a physical possession, a personality characteristic, or maybe a type of relationship or a state of mind. And he promises that by blessing 7 people per day with whatever this is that you want, it will show up in your life in 21 days, or the avenue or the channel to receive it will be made manifest. So back to Stephen Bunnell's article. What Stephen picked for his mental blessing was the ability to play the piano by ear in 21 days. What do you think about that, Noreen? Now, he picked this for a couple of reasons. First of all, he wanted the experiment to be a real challenge. Remember, he's a skeptic, and he knew that for him, playing the piano by ear in 21 days was going to be impossible. Second, he picked it because he really, with all of his heart, he wanted to know how to play the piano. He then wrote his blessing on a 3x5 card. The blessing said, "I bless you with the ability to play the piano by ear." The next morning, he looked out the window and he saw this jogger going by his house. And as he looked at him, he silently repeated the words, "I bless you with the ability to play the piano by ear." Anyone he saw on his path that day, he would mentally and sincerely in his heart bless them and say, "I bless you with the ability to play the piano by ear." Then he got to his office, and he sat at his office desk, and his associate came to his doorway. Now, this associate was an individual that he really disliked. To put it more accurately, he despised this person, or to put it even more bluntly, he hated this person with every fiber of his being. But following his commitment, for the day to use the blessing, he looked at this man inside of his head and he sincerely thought to himself, I bless you with the ability to play the piano by ear. Immediately, this little voice went off in his head and said, are you sure you really want to bless him? You usually bless him with something like death. But what happened was there was this peace that just washed over him, and his associate just left him alone. That evening, as he was driving home from work, someone pulled out in front of him, and he blessed the traffic violator with the ability to play the piano by ear. New possibilities of thinking differently were beginning to open up for him. He also found that 7 blessings a day was not the magic number, it was the minimum. He couldn't help but just bless people here and there all day long that far exceeded the 7 that was suggested. 5 days later, he was sitting in his church in the same place where, you know, how everybody gets the same seat, right? He was sitting in his same seat, and he sat there and he's looking at all the familiar people and all the same familiar scenes. In walked in the piano player for the service, and the piano player took his usual seat at the bench and started to play the prelude music just like he had done 100 times before. But this time, even Stephen Bunnell noticed something that had never occurred to him before. The piano player wasn't using any music. He was either playing by memory or by ear. Here was something that someone was doing what Stephen Bunnell wanted to do, and the piano player was doing it right in front of his eyes. So Stephen went up to him after the service and asked how he did it. And the piano player replied, I can't read music, so I had to find an easier way to do this. If you want to know how to do this, go down to the music store, buy a chord book, learn a few chords, and get a little idea of the sequence of how music fits together, and I bet in about 2 weeks you can play the piano by ear. The next day, Stephen went to the music store and found a fascinating book that gave him exactly what he needed. 2 weeks later, which made his 21 days, he could play the piano by ear, and I would suspect it wasn't Mozart. But what happened was a whole new world of possibilities opened up for him. And from that time forward, he started to learn more and more about music. Well, after reading Stephen Bunnell's article a number of years ago, I was so excited to put this technique to work that I got my husband and my 2 stepdaughters, Stephanie and Natalie, and I said, okay, as a family, do you guys want to do this with me? And they enthusiastically jumped in, and I got these 3x5 cards with a lot of different colored pens, and we went to work. Each one of them did their own little blessing. Now, one of the things that you do is once you've decided what you're going to bless people with, it is best not to tell everybody about it. This is something between you and the universe, and even when you're blessing people, it's good to just not say it out loud. So, I can't tell you what we all decided to bless people with except for Stephanie, as she gave me permission to share this story with you. For some time, she had and continues to make this beautiful jewelry. In fact, I wear her jewelry from time to time. And she started to bless people with a certain amount of extra money a month from her jewelry sales. And she would say, I now bless you with whatever extra amount that was a month from my jewelry sales. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that if you go out and you start blessing people with, millions of dollars, that in 3 weeks it's going to show up at your back door. And yet, The universe is unlimited, and it has surprised me. I can't tell you how many times. But what I do believe is that within 3 weeks, an avenue or a channel of how to achieve that money will show up. And sure enough, for Stephanie, within 3 weeks, a 3-week period of time, she was presented with people coming into her life that assisted her in getting jewelry into Ojai's most exclusive shops, which are very hard to get into. And she fulfilled her desired amount and more. I also shared this concept with another friend of mine who wanted peace of mind. She sincerely, just from her heart, blessing people everywhere she went with peace. I bless you with peace beyond all understanding. Within a week, she was gifted with the opportunity to take a trip to Portugal for 14 days of pure silence. And she came back, and she had been changed at depth. Now, I started to wonder, why does this technique work in such a powerful way? Thus began my process of excavating the inner workings of this 21-day mental blessing process. Why does this seem to work? And what I have found is that there are a few primal laws at work. But one that I want to concentrate on here today, it comes from Luke 6:38, where it says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you in good measure and running over." So when you sincerely, from the heart, and genuinely are blessing others with whatever it is that you are wanting, you are giving a vibration of goodness to them. In fact, some people would call this the law of cause and effect. Either way, the energetic truth is undeniable. You will get back the same energy that you put out to others. So be aware, though, if you're hateful or judgmental or manipulative, eventually you will see the same treatment coming back. If you're deceitful or honest, people will treat you the same way after a while. What you sow, so shall you reap. As Chuck Fillmore says in his book Prosperity, nothing comes by chance. All happenings in your life are the result of cause and can be explained under the law of cause and effect. What you put out comes back. And this is why in Unity we say be impeccable as to how you use your energy, for what you give comes back. And giving activates receiving multiplied. One of my favorite books is called Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell. It was written in 1964, in which he states, "Giving is the first or fundamental law of life, and it is the first law of all creation. The attitude of getting is the law of life in its congested state or in its repressed action. As long as getting dominates a mind, the mind is in a paralyzed condition. Whatever you give, whether you give appreciation, a blessing, or your service, or tangible gifts, give it gladly, with no dictation attached. But after you give, that is not all what you must do. Your next step is to prepare yourself to receive the response. As the law states, give and it shall be given unto you in good measure and running over." So he brings up a really good point here. Give with no dictation attached. And this is the key to all giving, and that is detachment. You cannot be attached to how your good will come back to you. If you try to force it to look a certain way, you stall your good. So with this mental blessing, you bless others from a heart space, right? You're sincere with what it is that you want, and then you're open as to how it may come. The how, actually, just to let you know, is none of your business. That's up to the universe. Now, what science has discovered, and I love this, is that when you are thinking good thoughts about yourself and about others, or let's just say you are committed to blessing others from a sincere and loving state of being, you actually shift into an alpha state. Alpha is characterized as being clear-headed, it's characterized as being present and fully in the moment. Alpha waves create a sense of peace and well-being in your mind and in your body. People that are in this state, they seem to exude charisma as their minds are focused on the here and now. You want to live in the alpha state, and blessing others will shift you into that alpha state like no other way. You see, the real reason why this mental blessing works is because the power of giving is instantaneous. The power of giving is continuous. Now, the power of giving is instantaneous because if right now you have a thought for maybe your friend or a sibling or a spouse, even maybe for your enemy, if you have a good thought about them, instantaneously you feel good. Instantaneously you go into that alpha state. If you have a bad thought, instantaneously you feel bad. So the power of giving, whether negative or positive, is instantaneous. What you put out comes back. The power of giving is also continuous, and what I mean by that is if you stop giving, you stop receiving. When the cow stops giving milk, the cow can no longer make milk, and that's a fact. When you stop the flow, you stop receiving. Giving empowers you. There's a true story about a well-dressed man who was walking down this one street, and this one older woman walks out of her house and she yelled, "Hey, mister, come on over here." And so he went over to the door where she was and he politely said, "Yes, what can I do for you?" She said, I need for you to chop some wood for me." And he said, "Well, okay." So he took off his suit jacket and he went to the back of the house and he started chopping some wood, and she said, "Well, now I need for you to put that wood now in my house." And he said, "Well, yes, ma'am, I'll put the wood in your house." And after he was finished, she asked, "Okay, now what do I owe you?" And he said, "Nothing, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity to be of service and to give back from my good life." And he left, and he's walking down the street, and her maid came up to her, and she said, "Do you know who that is?" And the old lady said, "I have not a clue." He is a great African-American educator, Dr. Booker Washington. "Is that right? You go bring him over here to me." And the lady ended up contributing several $1 million to his dream of a building of an institution of higher learning for African Americans called Tuskegee University. Now, what if, just what if, he came from a hoarding consciousness and said, "You said do what? Cut your wood? Yeah, right, I don't think so." He didn't allow his ego to get in the way. He gave what he had. He contributed from what he said, a good life. It was a joy for him to give. How much have we denied ourselves? How much have we blocked ourselves because we allow that little ego of ourselves to get in the way? Practically nothing else will bring you what you want faster than giving what you want. And the difference is what the giver is vibrating. If the giver is vibrating from joy, like, "Oh, I so want to give this to you. I want to give you the blessing of being able to play the piano by ear." Many people give freely with a joyous heart. It's called vibrational giving. These people are richly rewarded. And then there are those who share begrudgingly, where there's this sense of loss from their giving, where they'll say something, well, that's money or whatever it is that they're sharing that I will never see again. I hope they make a good use out of it. Which group do you think the law of attraction benefits the most? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Remember, the difference is in what the giver is vibrating about their giving. And so as we take this mental blessing, vibrationally, we are contributing to others. I want to tell you a personal story that happened to Steve and I a number of years ago. It was shortly after I read this book. And one of the things, Steve and I, we really don't like debt of any kind. We like being cash flow positive. We try to pay cash for everything. However, some time ago, we found that we had some credit card debt. It wasn't that much, but it was enough for us to feel angst about it. And our desire was to pay it in full. And so every day, I was blessing people with God's infinite wealth just lavishly circulating into their lives. And I just kept saying, I bless you with the infinite wealth of God lavishly circulating in your life. And every day I would bless as many people as I could. Within a 3-week period of time, I received a letter from an attorney's office stating that someone that I had ministered to had just passed away and left me the amount that we desired to pay off the debt and with some to spare. It was unexpected good from an unexpected place. When you are sincerely giving from the heart, vibrationally, in a loving way, even those you don't like, especially those that you don't like, you will receive what you are giving in a multiplied way. You cannot outgive God. There is no time or space within this universe where your influence isn't felt. All that you do, all that you say, all that you think moves outward from you in a frequency that has your name on it. In time, those accumulated vibrations will come back. So give with love, not lack or hate. Give with generosity and kindness in your heart. And if you do this exercise, I guarantee that your life will take on a whole new meaning for you, that you will be happier, and you will have a greater sense of well-being and fulfillment in your life. So let's just take a moment to take this lesson in a little deeper. I want you to just take a moment to think of something that you want. Maybe it's joy or health, abundance, maybe a loving relationship. Maybe there was a relationship that needs a little work. Maybe you want a peaceful relationship, whatever that is. And sincerely, in your heart, just say to each person in your mind right here, I bless you with whatever that might be. And feel how that has just given back to you, because it feels good. And just take that blessing. Imagine yourself throughout the day blessing people in your mind. I bless you with whatever that might be. And then see the end result. You don't need to know how it will come in. You just need to see the end result. And so, dear God, we give thanks for this time of giving. And we give thanks that we are good receivers. We open ourselves up for your abundance to circulate within each one of our lives. And for this blessing, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen.